like your new RAV4.
Thanks, yours too.
What does RAV stand for anyway?
To me, it's the Remarkably Advanced Vehicle.
Really? To me, it's the runway-approved vehicle for its amazing style.
What about Remarkably Adaptable Vehicle because of its versatile cargo space?
Or really admired vehicle?
Oh, or Really Awesome Vehicle.
It really is the recreational activity vehicle. The stylish 2026 Toyota RAV4 Limited. What's your RAV4?
I wrote a little song to remind you, Choice Hotels get you more of the experiences you value. The Cambria Hotel's got it all. A rooftop bar, have a ball. Cocktails up here feel just right. Is Cambria amazing? All right. Bring a date, your team, or even your mom. Book direct at choicehotels.com. See you on the roof.
Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here. Let me ask you a question. Do you ever feel that you sabotage your life, that things are going pretty good and then you mess it up, you throw a big spanner into the works? If so, I think you might get some value from this session, because I was working with a client that every now and then would use alcohol and drink a lot to kind of derail their life. Things would be going good, but then they would choose to go on a bit of a binge and just drink more than in hindsight they would want to. And they would know that after a few drinks, they're kind of out of control and they're just going to drink whatever they drink. So this is designed to do certain things that mean that we almost work backwards and we say, right, if you don't have that first drink or two, then what are all the other negative things that then don't happen because you didn't do the first few things? You can think of it as like a row of dominoes, that actually a lot of the problems in life are the 6th, 7th or 8th domino that fall over. But if domino 1 never goes over, the chain reaction never gets to that place. And this particular client would have what's called a polarity response. They would have this inner dialogue that would do the opposite of what other people either wanted them to do or not wanted them to do. So if they got a compliment, then they would almost think that they didn't want to do it because other people noticed the improvement. And it actually uses a different idea of a parallel universe. So they get to see this version of themselves that quit alcohol for about 6 months, but then never went back to it. And by looking at that life and how that life had improved and all the ways that they could still enjoy their social life and life with friends and relationships, but without needing alcohol, that would give them inspiration in their reality. So if you want to either reduce alcohol or silence that voice that might be quite self-destructive, I think you'll get some value from this session. And if you like the idea of working with me directly rather than just listening to recordings of my podcast, I've actually created a webinar that I go through what it's like to work with me. And the webinar is completely free. And there's a very special bonus at the end of that webinar as well. So if you're interested in checking that out, have a look in the show notes in the description, and you'll be able to register for that webinar and get those free bonuses. For now, though, find a quiet, comfortable place where you won't be distracted or disturbed. Relax and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe in that slow, long, relaxing breath, and as you exhale, feel that wonderful feeling of release. As if any tension, stress, worries are slowly, incrementally leaving your body in that outward breath. Breathing in a feeling of pure acceptance and releasing any impatience, any frustrations. Just allowing any tension in the jaw to relax. Arms and legs feeling limp, loose and heavy. That's it. And the deeper you breathe, the more relaxed you feel. And the more relaxed you feel, the deeper you breathe. I want you to think back to a time when your job was to influence. Maybe you can go back to a memory, knocking on doors, being trained. I want you to get a sense that good, or perhaps bad influence, has a percentage of truth at its very core. When a salesperson is sold the idea of a product to sell to a customer, the benefits quite often have an element of truth right there inside. But I want you to imagine going back in time as you are now, observing that younger version of you influencing. See how you were dressed. Maybe you had some bag or briefcase with you. See you knocking on doors. And see that version of you that had the objective to influence. And I want you to see all of the tools that you used back then to influence. Sometimes people use fear to influence. Have you been burgled in this area? Have you seen the crime rates increasing? Or maybe it appeals to a role. A mother wants to protect their children, a father wants to protect the property. And I want you to see that version of you using every trick in the book to influence. It's difficult to influence if you're not in rapport. See how you smiled. You showed interest. You were polite. And I want you to think of a time when you influenced someone, even though you knew what you were selling was not in the interest of the person you were selling it to. Maybe because it was overpriced. Maybe because it had certain strings attached that were just unpleasant. And maybe it had to be such a high price. Otherwise, there isn't enough commission to pay you. It doesn't mean why. It means what. I want you to see what was happening. Maybe we can look at this as a win-lose dynamic. The company won, they got their money. You were winning every sale you made, you got your money. And if the product was amazing, it would also be a win for the customer. Except you knew it wasn't. You knew it was bad for them, but good for you. And then just imagine what it would feel like if you lived in a house down the same street. And I want you to imagine seeing yourself dressed in an expensive suit, hair slicked back, charming smile. And you hear from inside the home a doorbell go, a knock on the door. And as you open the door, see that younger version of you smiling, building a connection, using those first few words or phrases to start the pitch. And I want you to get a sense that even if you've worked hard that day, even if you had the money, even if you had no security in your home, there is zero chance of you buying what this individual, yourself, has to sell. And I want you to see that the harder they try, the less persuaded you become. You don't even need to give objection after objection. You just know. You just know that you're not ever going to buy this thing. Partly because you've come to the conclusion that even if you were going to buy something like this, it wouldn't be because you're being persuaded. It would be because you intended to find something. You would research the best possible thing to do that for you. But let's see them try with their smiles. Maybe there's a smooth whisper to their tonality. You really need this. What's the point in working hard to have this house if someone could break in and steal things? Think of the lines and then slowly start to distort them. I want you to imagine they started selling security and now they're selling pleasure. Or at least the representation of it. I want you to imagine you're now in your place, not an imaginary house on an imaginary street, but your home. I want you to imagine you have worked hard, 9 to 5. It was easy not to be distracted. You had work to do. But imagine it's the evening, and instead of a knock at the door, there's a subtle voice, almost like it's just behind your head. And notice how often they use the word just let's just do this. Let's just do that. Just seems innocent, low stakes. It seems, what could possibly go wrong? I want you to get a sense that if someone was fishing, the bait on the hook is appealing to the fish they want to catch. The fish thinks they're getting something tasty, something pleasurable. The fish is not aware of the hook. And if that fish takes a nibble, but the fisherman started to bring in the line too quickly, the line would snap and the fish would swim away. The fisherman learns slowly. Bring the fish close enough so the tension in the line is stronger when they're close than if they're far away. And when they get to a certain level, there's no going back for that fish. Just imagine a serial killer. Charming. Imagine that serial killer says, "There is the most incredible view of the ocean you've ever seen. You've never seen anything like that. Let's just go for a little walk. It's only over there. Not too far. Come with me. It's incredible." Use influence, promises, the language of seduction to get them to the edge of the cliff. And maybe the view is okay. But their intention wasn't for them to see the view. The intention was to push them over the cliff when they get to the edge. If you feel like you've been the fish on the end of that hook one too many times, let me know by nodding your head. And the fish was real. The bait was real. Even if you didn't ever get what you really hoped for. And if you've been lured to the edge of the cliff one too many times, and what you felt was the crumbling fall of disappointment, that empty feeling, that remorse feeling, why did I do this? One too many times, let me know by nodding your head. But let's just say fish have short memories. Is the irony. Sometimes fishermen will take pictures with their fish, and the markings reveal it was exactly the same fish caught more than once. But fishes have short memories. If enough time goes by, they see the bait on the hook, and they have no memory that they've been caught with that bait on that hook before. And just imagine you were a character in a computer game, that if you die, you respawn. If you were lured to the cliff's edge and pushed over, and you respawned, how many times could they push you over the edge of the same cliff? If you were a fish with perfect memory, if you knew what the intention was to get you to the edge of the cliff, no amount of influence would make it appealing. So let's now imagine no metaphors like bait on hooks or cliff edges. I want you to think of some random evening and just imagine there's a voice that seems like it's coming from a slick, smooth salesperson, almost like they're within you, whispering seductively at the back of your head. And maybe they're saying things that are true. That's how these salespeople work. They build rapport by saying things that are true to begin with. You've worked hard today. What's the point in living just to work hour after hour? You've got nothing to do. What, are you going to sit here bored? Why don't you just visit that website? Just sign into that app. Just send that message. It can feel harmless. At the point, each tiny thing is harmless. As you get closer and closer to the edge. And sometimes the brain says, well, I've come this far, I may as well continue. The whole point of baiting and then switching, it only works if you take the bait. And what if the bait is a photo, an image, the dopamine you get from someone responding to a message? What if the bait is the thought of something in your imagination that probably won't happen, but it feels appealing? When you're aware of the game, when you're aware of the bait, and when you're aware of how many times you've been caught on that hook or pushed over the edge, I want you to feel an incredible sense, a sense that you are immune to this kind of persuasion. That the harder they try and persuade, the less interested you are. You don't need objection after objection. You don't need to justify your choices. You simply don't want to buy what is being sold anymore. So let's imagine it. Imagine that the harder they try, the more you smile. And the more they try and influence you to do one thing, the more you feel inspired to do something that gives value to your life. And maybe that's jumping in the car and going to a driving range. Maybe it's going to the gym and having a workout. Maybe it's connecting with someone, a friend, someone you see a future with. I want you to get a sense that each and every time this part returns, it reminds you. It reminds you of what you really want. You want fulfillment, meaning, purpose. You want a sense of real experience. You're not interested in this scam anymore. And it is a scam. A slick internal salesperson that's been scamming you. And each time they scam you, you feel a sense of remorse. But a good scam gives you a taste of something real before it's taken away. You may have seen those street scammers. The ball under the 3 cups, or finding the Queen of Hearts. And the scam is you see other people winning. And when it's a low stakes, you may even win yourself. That's the point. You've had a taste of something, and now when the stakes get higher, you lose and you lose. Not because you're not following what's happening, but because they decide if you win or you lose. And when you're on the hook, you lose. And you lose. And what can happen is the more you lose, the more desperate you are to win, and the more they can take. And what if in those evenings there is a void? Because those hobbies, those experiences, those connections and friendships haven't had the opportunity to be built. Because time, money, emotion was deployed in those things that were going to take and take and take. When you know it's a scam, to not be scammed becomes easier. When you know the one scamming you has an agenda, it becomes easier for you to escape their clutches. I want you to get a sense that forewarned is forearmed. Imagine yourself a week from now, and that voice comes. Complimenting you. You've worked hard. You deserve this. Just this last time. It's all bait on a hook to lure you in. And you don't have to fight this forever. You're perhaps just 3 times away from being free. Don't be surprised if the next time it'll get more tenacious. But by not taking the bait, you reduce the power, and then the next time, you can smile. You're closer to escaping. And then, the 3rd time feels like freedom. You want that part to come, to whisper, to try to influence you. And when it can't, and you choose to use your time, your money, your energy to do something that makes you feel good rather than remorseful, then you're free. Sometimes you need to realize you've been scammed in the past to avoid being scammed in the future. And if your unconscious sees it now for what it really is, that smooth, seductive voice that has an element of truth, there is fun, there is pleasure, but the cost and the baggage are just too high. That's what makes it a scam. If your unconscious is ready now to see it for what it really is and to deploy your resources in something much better for you, let me know by nodding your head. Yeah, that's it. It's time to return, but with a sense of you are now ready. And I want you to think of one thing that you will do in advance when this voice comes calling, this door starts knocking. And maybe you've got a contingency. If you can't golf because it's raining, there's something else you can do. But when in advance you decide the intention, you already are mitigating and reducing the chances. So it's time to leave this place and return to the present with a feeling of empowered clarity. So take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose, and wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes. Connect and calibrate into the here and the now, as I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of The Hypnotist. If you've enjoyed this episode or got some value from it, please give it a 5-star rating and review. And maybe you know someone that would also benefit from this particular episode, in which case share the episode with them so they can also get the benefit too. And if you would like to listen to this episode where it's just the hypnosis, so no intro, no outro, no explanation, just the hypnosis and completely ad-free, there will be a link in the description where you can subscribe at a very low cost and only get access to the hypnosis. So if that's of interest, please check that out. Thank you again for being a regular listener of The Hypnotist, and I'll see you again soon for more.